Ever feel like there's a profound shift happening within you, but you just can't quite put your finger on it? It's very likely that it's a spiritual awakening. So today we are going to go through the signs of what a spiritual awakening feels like and how it shows up in your life so you know if that's what's happening for you.
Good times.
Good times, definitely. So, what is a spiritual awakening? There's tons of different definitions. The most common one is that you are spiritually aware of, like, the universe, the cosmos, and that everything is connected. You've suddenly come into this. Yeah, we all really are one. It's not just a concept that I keep hearing all the time. For me, it happened. It happens in many different ways. I'll share my experience with it.
Mm-hmm.
It can be instantaneous. It can be little by little as you go through time. Or most people, it's a big stick moment, unfortunately. For me, I was at a spiritual retreat and everybody was having all of these like little awakening moments and like, oh my God, I get it now. And like all these awesome things. And I'm like, why don't I get the light switch flip on moment? Like I'm doing my work. Like what the hell's going on? And we were out doing this moving meditation, and so I'm like running through this field, like kind of being pissed off that I'm not getting my moment. And I hear this voice say, "You were born with the lights on." And I'm like, "Oh, well, what does that mean?" Like, so I don't get any of that because you already have that on a daily basis, a moment to moment basis. Oh, okay. And that was my like a bit. I was already awake, I guess, but that kind of flipped my switch, even though they said it was already on, so
Mm-hmm.
that I could start being more aware of everything. And that's
Mm.
how I ended up in this seat right now.
Definitely went through one where I was so in touch with my emotions when I wasn't before. Like literally, I would cry at commercials and then be happy. And it's just like from one end of the spectrum to the next. And it's just like it still happens now from time to time, but that's definitely one of the signs for me that showed me that I'm like, okay, I just locked in, I just connected with parts of myself that have been there, but obviously I wasn't tapping into them. So my spiritual awakening comes from many, many different places.
Most people's do, absolutely. A lot of people though we find something has to happen, like a loss of a loved one, a car accident, loss of a job, like a house fire, something major happens, and then they're like, oh my God, all that stuff that I've been like thinking and placing so much intention and attention, importance on, really doesn't mean shit. And they really boils down to taking care of themselves and feeling grateful for what they have around them, and it brings them to a whole different level.
Right, right. Also, when you have a spiritual awakening, you're also having a shift in consciousness. There is so much energy and so much shifting going on there. So when you're in something like, let's say, for me, I had a moment where it's like I had this certain belief about myself, about my life, about things that I wanted to achieve. All of a sudden, I find myself having a completely different mindset when it came to that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had grown, I had shifted, I had definitely tapped into another part of something that I wanted to shift and grow from. And once I did that, again, it happened so subtle that when I became aware of the fact that I had changed the way I felt and thought about this particular thing, it was just like, okay. But it had been happening in a very subtle way, and I wasn't even aware of it.
Right. The energy and the access to, as we talk about the universe, all this energy is all around you all the time, and it's always accessible to you. But we get so caught up in regular life. That's why I love Deepak Chopra when he explains what a spiritual awakening like is like. He says it's when you stop living in the dream world, which he considers this
Mm,
3D world, the dream world, where you're run off of like logic and you're run off of constantly living in the past and living in the future.
no.
This is where you come into the present moment so that you're aware of all these things that are happening, and feeling and accessing all the energy all the time. So it makes perfect sense that when you start, one big sign is breaking patterns, being aware of patterns, and shifting your awareness. So the more you're aware of your patterns, you can break out of, like me, I was taught, you grow up and you go to college and you get married and you get a good job. And then I'm like, and I'm going to break the glass ceiling. And I had all these like big business ambitions. And now I'm like, I want to be a YouTuber and I want to help people. Like, and families like, what about the job and the college education we paid for? Like, and you're like, yeah, that's not important to me anymore. And I don't need that to live a good life, and
Mm-hmm.
to be happy. And
Yeah, and for me it was the whole, getting married, having kids, and being a good wife, and all that good stuff, and and it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna do those things, but it's gonna be with a woman, not
yeah,
necessarily with a man. I was just like, no,
I
that's
don't
not
need to
gonna
do
happen
that.
for me.
I don't know if
That
that's
was
a spiritual awakening, but I
that
guess
was
it's a,
no, it was a pattern that I
a
broke.
pattern you
A
broke.
pattern,
Got it. Got
because it
it.
was it was a cultural, for me, cultural pattern,
Societal
that
norm too.
societal norm, yeah, that I was just like, nope, not gonna happen for me. That's not how it works.
So you'll know you're having a spiritual awakening when you start to dive into your curiosity more and more, and you start to be like, why did I believe that, or why do I think that, or why do I participate in that, and why do I think I have to do that? Because none of that really makes sense when I think about it. I mean, because everybody else does it and that's the way it's always been done. Why? That doesn't fly. Why? We don't have to keep doing things what everybody else is doing and the
Mm-hmm.
way it's always been done. A sign of awakening is stepping further and further into your authenticity. Like, you're just like wanting to be more unapologetically you.
Mm-hmm.
You're sick and tired of portraying that, fill in the blank. Like, I am the person who loves cats and I like coffee and I'm the mom. And you get tired of all those labels and being those things in different situations and different people. And you're like, fuck it. I just want to be me.
Right.
And then that becomes more and more okay for you, regardless of the pushback you get from other people, the eyes on like, oh, why is she acting like that or saying that, or she becomes the weird one in the family, like and you don't care anymore.
The more authentic you are, that's part of tapping into that knowing, tapping into that, awakening of who you are, what you want, what you need, how you want to go about it. So, yeah, I mean, it, I have so many words running through my head right now.
Yeah, trying to pick just one.
You're trying to pick just one, but yeah.
A profound experience we both had for the last 2 years in a row. We've had the opportunity, over the summer, to spend a little time with Deepak Chopra and actually meditate with him, and a group of us. And it was awesome. And he spoke a little bit each time. And this past time, he spoke a lot about this spiritual awakening piece of it. And he was talking about, because we know it's about oneness is what you're waking up to be, instead of the separatism that we all feel, us against them, and I don't belong or whatever. We're looking for that oneness piece. So he says it's when you believe, you understand that you're a part of something, but you're also something different. And the example he gave was a wave and the ocean. And he said that, like, if you're the wave, you're still a part of the ocean. You're part of all is one, but you're also the wave. You're not all the other parts of
Yeah.
the ocean. So if you can recognize that, yeah, I'm still a wave, but yeah, I'm still a part of the ocean, and we're all the same thing. And that kind of, I think, boiled it down really well for me. A vision that I'm getting in my head actually is a puzzle piece. So you being in your authenticity is you becoming that one of a kind piece in the entire puzzle, and you're craving that unity and you're craving that oneness. And if we all start keep being the same and working in the same patterns and old beliefs, then we're all attempting to, first of all, not be the piece that we are.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all attempting to just stay in that one piece. And you can never, ever, ever, ever put a puzzle together with one piece. Or you have the us against them, like, I believe this and they believe that, and I am right and they are wrong. And so now you have everybody trying to separate everybody into their two pieces. Like, everybody come over and be a piece like me, everybody over. Can you put the puzzle together? No. So you're like You're pushing to try to get more people to think like you, be on your side, or group around with other people that believe the same things that you believe, is all becoming that cookie cutter piece, instead of like, this is where I sit and I can pick bits and pieces out of all of this. And even if I don't think I agree with that or understand that, I still value that they have an opinion, and I still value that that's their belief right now, and that we're all still part of the one. So I'm still going to, even if I think it's completely wrong, I'm just going to respect that our opinions are different, and I'm going to sit in love as much as possible in all times. Because that's where you get once you've had a spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
So if you're less and less into the drama, the less and less into like who did what and why, if you're less and less when you're sitting in a story that you don't care, like, why did this happen, or what did such and such say to this person in this time, like, it doesn't matter, it's already happened, you know, it's already happened. How do I move forward from here, from in this moment? What can I do right now to move myself forward? So you get stuck in story a little less, you catch yourself a little quicker when you get stuck in story. And then when you look to the future, if you notice it's with fear or it's with worry, you're able to recenter yourself back in the present moment quicker. So if you feel like, you know, like you were saying at the beginning, like all of a sudden I'm crying and then I'm happy and then I'm sad and then if you're all over the place, probably a sign of spiritual awakening. Mm-hmm. Because you're shifting from old pattern into new pattern, and you know, you're dipping back into old pattern because you need to heal whatever you need to heal from it, or you need to detach, or you need to understand the fullness of the pattern so you know what to step out of, so you don't keep repeating it. So but you know how to dip back and forth.
One of the things that I was able to tell just recently is like someone I love and care for very deeply is going through something. And when I heard the story, my reaction back in the day would have been is like, whose ass do I have to kick now?
Right.
You know, but instead of getting that rage and getting that, I'm sitting in such a level of balance and peace within myself right now that what I did was listen, support, ask questions, made sure that they were feeling safe, things like that. Not, here I come to the rescue.
Where you have
Me.
to insert yourself into somebody else's story.
Exactly. I had no desire to do that whatsoever. I was very, very proud of myself.
Yeah.
To realize, shit, this is where I sit now. There is this peace. Not to minimize what they're experiencing or anything like
Right.
that, but
But
that's
their
their
experience.
experience. Exactly, not mine. And that's how I knew at that point that, okay, it's another validation, doing the work, waking the fuck up, sitting in peace and balance. And that's a good fucking place to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So look for those evidences, not of, I mean, stay aware when you do fall into an old pattern, but look for that evidence of like, okay, wow, this is how far I've come, and this is how much I've shifted. And like, just allow those shifts to happen, because I know they can get scary sometime, because when it happens, you're like, I don't really feel like myself, or I have all this amazing awareness. I'm like plugged into all these things now, and I don't know what the frick to do with it. Especially if you're still surrounded by a bunch of people, from your old life that maybe don't understand what you're going through. But I find that like the more it kind of keeps my friendships fresh and my relationships fresh, because like every time I'm with somebody, I'm like, oh yeah, and I realize this, and I do this now, and they're like, of course you do, like, because I'm always like trying new things, or just shifting my thinking to a different way. So it keeps people on their toes. It's not like the same old lunch you have with your friend every single time. If you're a new version of you as you keep evolving more and more.
So, what is your old self? So, when you're thinking about connecting to your old self, you're really thinking about the fact that it's like, this is who I've created. This is who I really am when you have woken up. Mm-hmm. And that person sits in that peace, sits in that balance, sits in the awareness and the belief that everything is where it's supposed to be at this moment in time. And that's the part of you that has to come forth. You know, so when you're have woken up and everything's cool and you feel safe and you feel that's you. You have now entered who you really are.
And know that that can be an instantaneous thing, but that
Mm-hmm.
can also be a long, like, I mean, years journey, like a whole lifetime journey even.
Yeah.
Because there's, going to be times where you fall back into something and then you're like, oh, whoa, where I haven't been that person. Or especially if you like suddenly see somebody like maybe you grew up with, or like going to a holiday or whatnot, or a class
Yeah.
reunion, and then you'll dip back into an old energy patterns because subconsciously that person presents with something familiar, so you just pick up on that loop. Like,
Right.
it's never it's not a failure, it's not something to beat yourself up about. It's like, oh, I picked up an old energy loop.
Right.
I'm open, I'm in tuned, of course I did. That's okay.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just who I am with that person, and I can just have fun and have a nice interaction, and
Mm-hmm.
and then go on my merry way. So, like, all the parts of your old self aren't going to just magically be blown out of the water and go away. You'll have grieving periods, grieving parts of yourself. You'll have parts of yourself that you're going to cling to for dear life because it has served you so freaking well, and it's scary to let it go. And you're going to have to learn how to feel safe in a whole new way. I want to give you a quick message before we get back to this episode. Unlock the secrets of your soul for free with Soul Notes. Say goodbye to feeling stuck and hello to the validation of your alignment. These weekly prompts are filled with reminders, gentle nudges, and sometimes a kick in the ass, all with love from your soul. Don't just take our word for it. Try Soul Notes for yourself and see the difference it can make in your life. Trust us, your soul and you will thank you. Just go to soulnote.org. That's SOULNOTE.org. Now back to our podcast. We've been taught safety means money, or safety means a certain job, or we've been taught what these things are. We've never been taught that safety means being within yourself and being solid in that and plugged into all that is.
Yeah, being at peace, being in balance. That's your safety net right there.
And remember that you're walking this earth, so you can fluctuate in and out of that piece. The trick of it all is just having that awareness to notice when you're shifting out of it and shift yourself back in.
We have contracted to come here to experience things.
Right.
So things are going to happen. So when we get here, we're like, okay, what do I do now? So we start, like I said earlier, we start to create different forms of ourselves, if you will, so that we can adapt to where we are. Always in that journey, wanting and craving, I should say, craving that part, that silent something within you that says there's more, there's more, there's more. That's the real you going, let's not forget about me.
Exactly.
I get that you need to create this part of you to experience this realm, to
To function here.
to function, to whatever it is that you contracted to experience. Just remember that part of you, that real part of you, is always, hi, don't forget about me. And that's so when you wake up from that, from this, you're like, okay, there's a sense of home, there's a sense of safety, there's a sense of, a reality shift, if you will. What you thought was important, not so much. What you thought you wanted, yeah, no, I don't think I need that right now. Things like that. All the physical, third dimensional shit just kind of falls away.
Yeah.
And the real important things start to come up. The yearning for connection, the yearning for that part of yourself that knows exactly how you want to feel and be and what you want to create. That's when it all connects. there's a feeling to it. There's a love for it. I mean, and that's when you're like, you've just said hello to yourself. Hi.
There I am. And we've talked about this before. Make sure you're approaching life like a team, because your soul is where your soul self is kind of like your real self.
Mm-hmm.
If we want to talk about real and manufactured selves and old selves, as long as your soul is leading, that's when you're awake. That's when you've had that awakening. When your soul self finally gets to be like the conductor in an orchestra, and all the strings and everything in the orchestra are all the different parts of you. So they can be like, okay, now we need, the confident warrior, and now we need the sovereign, blah, 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 and the magician, cue the magician, and oh, the scared child, okay, there they are, that's awesome, cue the protector, and they just like a beautiful symphony, so that when the shit happens, because you don't just suddenly become, I mean, I guess you could go be a yogi in a mountain somewhere and not deal with regular life. But most of us are still here in this 3D world, and we're dealing with traffic and angry people, and people who are resisting their soul selves just because they're in deep, not because, maybe they don't want to do the work. But a lot of times they don't even realize the work because they're so ingrained in the what I'm supposed to do and what I have to do. If you can find a sense of compassion for those people, it makes all of this a lot easier.
This makes me think about, when I went out to go get some food and stuff like that earlier today for our dinner. I I I was very aware that I was feeling like it was too peoply for me. So I got real super curious. Why am I feeling this way? I mean, people are people. They've always been here. They've been around. That kind of thing. So I started to get curious as to why that is, and then I deliberately looked at people in their eyes, the ones that I came in contact with, a smile, how are you? Some sort of engagement. And realize that that's all that is. It's a connection. It's an awareness of that person. And yeah, they're all over the place because they're part of us. It's what makes us all function. That oneness, that connection with one another. You know, my hi to that gentleman could have made his day if he was having a bad day. I don't know. I don't have to know. But that's the thing, is that when it feels like it's too peoply, at least for me, it's because somewhere out there somebody's looking to connect with me, or I with them, whether I know them or not.
Yep. Two puzzle pieces that fit together just will need that link up.
Yeah.
So that's when you decide, if you approach a situation, when you walk into a place, like I was in the post office yesterday, super long line, computer issues, brand new person, not trained, like all of the like recipe for impatience and people being pissed off and frustration and all this other things. And you could just feel the energy when I walked in. I was like, ugh. And then I'm like, wait a minute, what okay, now I'm just going to like, oh, this is the energy. I'm going to contribute to it, and I'm going to fit right in with it. So I'm like, why the hell did I just choose to shift my energy to the energy of where I walked into? Like, that's not, no, I'm Tara. Like I have awesome energy. I'm going to insert that into the situation. So I just started, you could become the observer, and I started watching and all the interactions people were having. And then I was like, okay, all right. I get up there and I'm talking, I get the new person, and I'm like, oh, holiday season, it's kind of a tough day. And she's like, well, and then she launches into this whole story about her sick mother and stepping down from a really high position in her career to take this front desk position so she could be close to helping her mom, and her dad had just died, and like all this stuff that was going on. And she's doing my transaction, which went perfectly. Every other transaction, computer freezing, problems happening. And that's what happens when enough energy starts building up that's like negative and frustrated and dark and heavy. Things start going more wrong, more wrong. The line gets longer and the people get pissier. Instead of injecting some levity into the situation, then some compassion, some just plain old holding space and listening. And then at the end of my transaction, she's like, okay, that transaction went smooth. And people were like, yay, like, okay, things are back on track and going smooth. And she goes, thank you so much. I just needed to get that out. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely my pleasure. Thank you so much. And, have a great day. And I turned to walk out and a guy's like, you just shifted this whole place. And I'm like, well, I'm glad, good for everybody. And I left. And so that's when you can insert and choose your energy in a situation to decide if you want to let something ruin you or if you want to help
Yeah.
uplift. And even if that hadn't happened and the energy hadn't completely shifted, it shifted some. And some other person coming in that might be adjacent to my puzzle piece in life might have been like, ooh, frustration, anger, negative. I like that. Okay, I'm going to add to that. And then together we can start shifting the energy. So, I mean, it might feel real like a wall you're hitting if you're the first one into a situation to start shifting something. And take this global too, whatever's bothering you, because there's so much going on.
Mm.
And, and we're in the United States and then in all over the world. What's really bothering you? Okay, instead of like focusing on like, that's awful, that's an atrocity, that's it. Okay, how can I insert, instead of getting into the horror of it all, how can I insert compassion or love or kindness or caring or simply just holding space for the situation to allow it to shift? This is what an awakened person does.
Yeah.
And this is the difference from the picking sides and infighting and all the things we're commonly seeing that's overwhelming and draining everyone.
This the same with me. I chose to put my tap in differently instead of it being like, oh my God, it's too peoply for me.
And then it becomes fun. It all adds up. We just do our little part. And when you fall off of it, it's normal.
Yeah.
Because you don't just awaken and then you're just like the all-knowing God. Like you see some of those people like, I am awakened and the sun shines on me and that they're the chosen one and all this crap and you're like, you're full of shit. Like the point is to be able to walk this earth letting as much of that energy flow through you as you can hold in any given moment and still interacting and walking in the world.
Yeah.
And nothing is going to be perfect and only of the light. And like there's darkness too, and it is all good and it is all necessary.
Yeah. Where no matter what's going on around you, you're at peace.
Definitely.
That's when you are fully into your spiritual awakening.
And if you're looking for ways to like, if you've been in this awakening process for a while and ways to like kind of continually evolve, maybe a little faster or a little bit more ease. I mean, meditation, breath work, a lot of things we talk about all the time. One of the biggest things that I think that everybody needs to hear right now is slow down.
Yeah.
Energy is moving so fast. The to-do list is growing exponentially. Like it's so much. And when you start to slow down, things can fall away that don't need to be there. You can actually hear so that you can get the energies and the information that you need to be able to proceed in a better way. And your mind, your nervous system, your body is not getting overloaded by all the static and crap that's out there in the world. So it was like slowing down is the number one thing. And if you need help with any of this, I mean, we do spiritual coaching. So just hit us up. I mean, you can come right on our website, soulintentions.org. We have a free soul session that you can have with us. It's no pitch, where we can just sit and talk about your awakening and, figure out where you're at and what's working for you and what maybe you can do to bring more ease and more of this awakening energy into your existence.
Yeah. And if you again, and if you find value in the stuff that we talk about, give us a like.
Subscribe to the
Subscribe
channel
to
so
our
you
channel
get more.
so that you can stay up to date with what's going on and what we put out there. The way we work is that we simply connect to the universal energy and see what comes out. But like you said, the energies are moving very, very fast. So slowing down is a damn good option. And for those of you that don't like to slow down, that big stick might happen. So be aware of that.
Yeah, that's how you avoid the big stick.
Yeah, so don't push it to the point where something really tragic has to happen to slow your ass down. Please pay attention, slow down.
And let us know in the comments, like, what awakening type of moments have you experienced or symptoms that you've experienced?
Yeah.
And if you have any questions, because we'd love to answer or do a future video to explain for you. And I'd like to close it out with an Eckhart Tolle quote that I think is super appropriate to this. He says, "You find peace not by rearranging the circumstances of your life," which everybody's constantly trying to rearrange everything to make it work and make it fit unsuccessfully.
Yeah.
It's one of the number one things people come to us for coaching. So you find peace not by rearranging the circumstances of your life, but by realizing who you are at the deepest level. So we urge you to spend more time focused on becoming truly you.
Be kind.
Peace.
Peace.